All right, everyone. Did you hear the joke about the stable socialist regime? No, you didn't. That is the joke. There is none. We've got we've got to talk. I'm sorry. We got to talk about Venezuela's population loss because right now you've got a he said, she said. You see, Colombia and Venezuela have sort of an interchange of population. There are a lot of Venezuelans who have fled poverty to be in Colombia, as well as Brazil and elsewhere. 1.9 million is the total in Colombia, refugees essentially, or migrants. Some of these people are technically refugees. They're like student protesters. They're going to be hunted down, maybe shot and killed. That's like refugee movement. A lot of them, though, they're just moving because there's nothing, there's no job, there's no food stability or anything. They're like, fuck it. They uproot themselves. Technically, they're economic migrants. But then there are also Colombians who live in Venezuela who had been displaced back when Venezuela was, not shitty, had been displaced by internal civil war and terrorism, sort of these guerrilla movements, the FARC rebels or whatever the fuck they're called, which, by the way, I think have been partially pacified there. And now, by the way, Bolsonaro win? I don't know about the Brazilian election. I'll have to look at that. That's going to play a major role in the stability of Latin America, whether they've got a stable leader, whether they half-ass it and go with that hand-picked, neocon successor. But Venezuela's population loss is so bad they had to form a migration force. I guess this is good because in a way, at least a few thousand more people aren't unemployed in Venezuela. But I'm not sure, what are they going to pay them in petro crypto? They've got that new cryptocurrency that they're opening up pretty soon. It'll be able to be bought in bolivars there internally. It's I think a pseudo cryptocurrency, sort of like the Mines token or something. I don't think that it functions fully like crypto. I think they're hoping that people invest heavily into it and that it'll drive itself upwards as sort of a pyramid scheme. I'm betting that's probably what Maduro wants, so that foreign money will pour in. Because that foreign money, then he can take and hopefully bail himself out and not end up getting shot by rebels or something. But that's pretty sad. When you have to hire a bunch of people to try to staff the border, one of two things is happening. A lot of people want in or a lot of people want out. In Venezuela's case, it's the latter. They literally have to pay to try to stem the tide of people fleeing the country. And by the way, I can't imagine as many women are trying to have kids. Venezuela at some point is going to have a major problem with, instead of a baby boom, sort of its opposite of, hey, nobody bothered to have kids during that decades-long period where they themselves didn't even have enough food. And it's like, we don't have the money to subsidize pregnancy anyway. People are giving birth on essentially dirty floors in hospital hallways because half of them shut down. Doctor shortages, nurse shortages, certainly food shortages. During pregnancy, if you want a healthy child, it's recommended you get your fucking folic acid and shit, March of Dimes mode. In Venezuela, it's like, okay, here, gnaw on this piece of chalk for your calcium supplement today. What else are you supposed to do? Oh, wait, the chalk, it takes 2 weeks' pay to get that piece of chalk. Should be like hashtag chalk for Venezuelan women or something. Be like, okay, this pallet of chalk will probably save several children's lives from calcium underdosing or something. No, but Venezuela is the perfect example of real socialism. We have to understand that. It was held up on a pedestal as real socialism when things were going well. Under Chavez, when the economy was going well because oil prices were high. Salon and Vox and all these other Slate politicos of the world, the Missing Link media, the lamestream media, they all said, oh, we should be trying some of the stuff they're doing there. Look at how well it's working. So many people uplifted out of poverty. So many people are so happy they got microwaves now and laptops. Wow, they're going to be richer than Americans soon. Now, of course, you see what that central planning actually leads to, which is you make poor decisions at the central level affecting the whole economy. Especially in a non-diverse economy, then you have problems if there's a downturn. Because they were reliant upon a single commodity, crude oil, and not even great crude oil. Not nice, sweet crude oil from Saudi Arabia or from the middle of Texas, but really junky stuff that requires a lot of refining, which means it is not preferentially used. By the way, the other day, didn't China decide that it was no longer going to buy U.S. oil? And it's like, who fucking cares? Okay, well, we'll just absorb it internally. Problem solved. You can buy Venezuela's oil and refine it too, China. That'll be really fun for your economy to handle. The Chinese economy right now is showing signs that it's going to go kaput at some point. Eventually they have to end the tariff war because they will lose. Venezuela, though, is already lost. Venezuela not only tried to tangle with the U.S., but did so while basically Chavez, cult of personality head that he was, just wanted to play up to his people and give them welfare. He also did a charm offensive in the United States. You'll remember that time Venezuela sent a bunch of oil to New York. I think it was like to New York City to power things during, the recession or some shit. And it was like, thank you, Venezuela. Wasn't it, which one of their leaders, which one of their mayors at the time came out, or whoever it was, or senators? I think it was Cuomo, maybe. Came out and was like talking about how wonderful he was. I can remember Vermont used to do stuff like that. Like that time that we sold a bunch of dairy cows to Cuba. Yeah, it was really funny. Vermont was allowed to strike this lucrative dairy trade deal, by the Bush administration, I think it was, or the Clintons. It was very, very funny at the time. Fidel's like, oh, I love these cows. They're so cute. The idea was that they could have domestic dairy production to keep their, for infants and shit. With Venezuela, it's like, what economy? By the way, what are you paying these people to staff the borders? And by the way, because of the systemic corruption, if a family does want to flee, all they got to do is give a stack of those worthless bolivars or a fucking mango to the border guard. They'll walk across anyway. So it's going to be like a piece of Swiss cheese fucking border. And at the same time, Maduro's like, well, no, our problem's not that bad. Really, there are millions of Colombians here because Venezuela is so great. So here's sort of how you know it's an end-stage tyranny. End stage of tyranny, the tyrant begins making obviously false statements about how everything is actually better off here. It's like Kim Jong-un did this, sort of like the outside world is not great. Here in North Korea, everything's clean and crime-free and wonderful and wealthy, which of course is not true. Very clean streets in Pyongyang, though. At least the main streets that the tourists get to see. The rest of them supposedly a little bit more run down. But yeah, street cleaning's easy when there are only 10 cars. You have this with Saddam, like latter day, fall of the Iraqi government there under Saddam. Who was it, Chemical Ali or one of these people coming out saying there are no tanks in Baghdad and stuff. Baghdad Bob. No, this is the dude. How could I forget that? Being a child of the Iraq War, goddammit. But yeah, this is the end stage sort of collapse of a socialist regime. A real socialist regime. And it's not because of a CIA coup, as some socialists and Maoists and other ists will proclaim, because I know they've got a dozen different fake mentalities behind their communism and socialism. Now it's like, I'm not a socialist, I'm a social democrat. I'm not a socialist. I'm a hyper liberal. I'm not just a communist. I'm a Marxist, Leninist, Maoist, Trotskyist, ice pick enthusiast, or some stupid bullshit like that. They always do this. It's literally newspeak, but it's a form of propaganda to try to muddy the waters when people are trying to debate them, because they can always default to some little tiny no true Scotsman subgroup of communisms. Oh no, our group doesn't believe in this one thing that you potentially are attacking right now, and then in a different debate it'll be something else that they fixate on. Very slimy way that they debate. Venezuela, though. It's not long for this world as a functional state at all. They have to pay a bunch of soldiers to keep people in. Like in any sane country, you've got to guard your border to keep people out. The idea is defensive. It's not literally, now the whole country is now a prison, basically. Only a lot of it is bordered by rainforest, so fucking good luck. Just go around the border patrols. I think that wouldn't be that hard. That's about all. Peace out.